The reason we need to have sex ed is because we are people that have sex. We are people with bodies. Sex ed is not just about fornication. I'm a comprehensive sexuality educator. That means I very much work from the brain outwards,
Mhm.
right? Like the feelings, the emotions. People go, I didn't know that was a part of it. How did you think we got here? So we have failed a lot of the children in the beginning.
Hey, welcome to Meet Me at the Spot, where pleasure meets education. This is the space where we get real about sex, relationships, and everything in between. I'm your host, Holly Eckelberger, and I'm a longtime sexual health educator, activist, and content creator. I will be your guide through conversations that blend curiosity, pleasure, and truth. Together with some amazing guests, we'll break down stigma, celebrate bodies, and learn how to embrace sexual health with confidence and joy. So get comfy because it's time for the show to get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Meet Me at the Spot, where pleasure meets education. I'm your host, Holly, and this week I am really excited for my guest, Jimanekia. Jimanekia, who uses she, her pronouns, is a queer media consultant, comprehensive sex educator, and sexual assault and trauma expert. With a master's in health psychology, she has worked in mental health for the past 14 years in sex education and sexual trauma support. Jimanekia is the host of Trauma Queen, a podcast miniseries for survivors of assault and our allies. The podcast focuses on uplifting voices in all communities and exploring our collective journey to healing. Jimanekia is the founder of Tending the Garden, a healing retreat for survivors focused on survivors that have been marginalized. This conversation is so important, and as you can tell from reading the bio, there are going to be discussions of trauma and sexual assault and rape on this podcast episode. Please take care of yourself when listening, and I completely understand if this is not an episode that you can handle at this time for your own safety and your own boundaries that you are setting for yourself. Please support the amazing work that Jimanekia does for the community. I will have the ways to support her in the show notes, so make sure to follow her for some amazing, amazing information and resources. With that, let's get started with the show. Perfect. All right. Welcome, Jimanekia, to the podcast. I am very, very excited to have you here.
I'm excited. I get to wear my Be Gay, Do Crime and talk about things. Let's do it.
Yes, I love it. So first question I always like to ask my guests is, what got you started in the work that you do?
Trauma.
Yeah.
Yes, I became the trauma queen because of trauma. Um, I think there's a few pathways that actually got me here. I think, well, one, I like to preface, I'm going to say a few hard things because my story is a
Mhm.
few hard things. So buckle up.
Mhm.
I have toted myself as a child of trauma. My mother was murdered in front of me when I was one, which is more so what I've conversed about lately, which is interesting because that's actually the origin of it. I went to school to become a detective. I thought that's how I had to help individuals. I really wanted to help women so they did not end up like my mother. While I was in school, I was raped. And I always like to say that I was raped versus sexually assaulted because I feel like as being in this body, I've been sexually assaulted more times than I can account for. But I will say that I've been raped directly that I can really claim once, but also there's who knows? There's probably lots of other times in my life that I probably didn't necessarily want to, and too long of a story. But
Mhm.
but I started working in mental health after that. So I was sexually assaulted and raped. And then from there, I didn't tell anyone for years, like 7 years. So I was raped at 21, didn't tell anyone until I was 28. But it changed the course of my work. So my background has always been mental health. I started studying psychology in high school, so at 16. And then from there, it was just continuously learning and growing. And I ended up changing my major to psychology after I was sexually assaulted and raped. Um, and I went to school and continued going through whole new school, finished with psychology. I started working in mental health facilities. The burnout is real for anyone that works in mental health. It is very real working with people, holding things. And so I was like, I wanted to do something that was ever evolving and like growing and always learning. And I was like, ooh, sex. I was raised by my grandparents, my mother's parents, and my grandmother was like, oh God, what now? Because I am a adventure baby. I'm Gemini, Cancer, Aries for those that matter. So she's outside. But I got into sex ed at 28, which is crazy because I was 10 years ago. What came from it was more than I ever expected. I thought I was just going to be trying something new and joining, but it really changed the course of my life. Like becoming a sex educator at 28, I found my people. I found Sex Week summer camp that doesn't exist anymore. I found my squad. I came into the industry at such a cool time where people believed and trusted. Like, I am not the first person to talk about sexual assault. I will unfortunately not be the last, and people are still doing it. Sexual assault, as well as talking about it. And so I came in thinking, what am I going to offer? But all of us matter in this work because we all speak to someone different. And so that is what I quickly learned is like, yeah, but I didn't see myself talking about sexual assault. I didn't see any queer Black girls. And I was like, I can be that queer Black girl. And then I just haven't shut my mouth since. And I've just been all over the place, running my mouth, pissing people off, hopefully.
I love that. I love that. When you said you're like trying to find like where's my voice, where's my place in this little movement of sex
Mm-hmm.
educators. That's where I was when I started this podcast. I'm like, there's so many podcasts about sexual health and sex education, and I'm like, no, but they're not. None of them are my voice, and none of
Sure.
them are from my experience, right? And so, I think it's such a cool way for. I think people, especially the listeners, who are like, I want to get into this, but I don't want to teach in a school. I don't want to do this. It's like there's a path and a lane for everybody and anybody, um, in this
Yeah.
work and in sexual health education, um, and and like you said, unfortunately, when talking about sexual assault and rape, that like you said, you're not the first, and unfortunately, you won't be the last. And I give you so much credit for sharing your story and for taking that and saying, I'm not gonna let that be the moment that like stops me. I'm gonna let that be the moment that like I use it to help others understand and
Hmm.
educate and feel like they're not alone. And I think that's so, so important. So I appreciate you for that so much.
It's interesting. That was never the goal.
Yeah.
Like there was never a goal. And I think that people ask me quite often, like, well, you get to do these cool things. And I'm like, yeah, they're cool and hard, but also like it's not for everyone. Like I have people reach out, like, I'm a survivor. I want to do things. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Well, I want to do things. Well, what are things? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So on the outside, I might look like this person, but on the inside, I've been studying since I was 16. I did teach in middle schools and high schools. I have a lot of expensive pieces of paper. And so $170,000 in debt and climbing because I go back to school when I'm anxious. So that's my coping skill education. And so I think that there's so many different ways to do it, and there's not enough people doing it. I don't think that there's enough people
Mm-hmm.
that are doing this work because it's so hard to reach people now. I think 2016 up until like 2 years ago, oh, it was amazing. You could learn so much. And also we should do a little bit of gatekeeping because some people's outside talking wild. But there were so many options and ways to connect and voices, and also because the industry is hard. I think that's also another thing that people overlook. Like, sex is fun to talk about. I've been doing this for years, but also it's very stigmatized. People
Mm-hmm.
don't understand the work. There's tons of harm. There's the vulnerability. There's putting yourself out there. There's your family. There's so many other things that people don't necessarily think about. when they want to get into this work. And I always want people to really ask themselves, what do I bring? What do I bring?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. What do I bring?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this work is so hard. It really is. I've been doing this in various capacities for 17 years, 18 years, something numbers, and ages, the same way.
Yeah,
And it's so stigmatized, and I've talked with other guests on the show too. It's like the ways in which we do like content creation and all of our stuff online on the apps, like our stuff gets suppressed all the time because there is so much
every day.
shame and stigma and taboo. And it's like, how do we navigate the algorithm today? What's it going to do today, this hour? It is a nightmare to figure out and to navigate to get your message out there. And um, I think it's important, like you said, for people who want to do this work and say, like, I want to talk about this or I want to do this work. Great. Like, what do you want to do? Like, what's your goal? What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? What do um, and as someone who's changed careers from, I always wanted to be a teacher, and I went to school to be a teacher,
Mm,
and I taught for many years, little middle school, high school babies, uh, and then changed my whole career path, which was so unexpected. It's okay to like try something and decide if that's not
yeah.
your lane and change it up.
Yeah, I think that most people have multiple careers,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think people get comfortable. And growth doesn't come in comfortable spaces. Growth comes in uncomfortable spaces, right? Like stepping outside is how we get to be who we're supposed to be. If we are constantly staying in this bubble and never trying anything new, what's the point of living? Honestly, like we're just going to be boring. That's stupid. There's so much life. There's so many people out. And as we are learning with things that are happening in the world right now, it can change quickly. So
Mm-hmm.
why not do the things that bring you joy? Why not do the things that you're good at? You might be so good at speaking about HIV because you have been reading about it, because you have a voice, you have an identity. Maybe it's a gender identity, maybe it's a race identity. That allows people to tap in a way that people haven't been able to. Right? We talk ourselves out of the things we need so often, but often talk ourselves into bullshit. Like I think we should
Mm.
just switch it up. Like switch up the game a little bit. Less bullshit, more things that actually are helpful to you and actually matter. I've been seeing these people, predominantly as this Black woman, and she's been talking about the art of delusion. So she has been doing like 30 days of delu, of just believing it, trusting, oh, it's fine, it's already happening. The ways that we need to actually lie to ourselves, to promote ourselves, to do the hard things, lean into the delu. That's what I want people
Mm.
to do. Lean into it. It's okay.
Hmm. Oh, love that. Like that slight shift in the mindset is powerful for so many people. I know I have imposter syndrome. I'm like, why do I need to be? I'm not qualified for this. I'm like, girl, not only do you also have the papers, right, and the mountains of debt, but you have all this experience. Yes, you are. Stop selling yourself short.
I like to think of it like WWJD. What would John do? A basic white man? Act like they know what they're doing when they don't know. So why can't we do it when we actually have the information? Right? I heard a quote the other day and it was like, let people keep talking because they will show you who they truly are. So listen, continue showing up as who you are and keep talking because stupidity will continue talking over you and you sit silently, they will tell on themselves. Same thing within
Mm-hmm.
this industry. There's so many people that pop up and try to harm it and steal it. They will get their penance. Like if
Mm-hmm.
it will hit them every time. I've been in this industry long enough. But also, there's so many spaces open. So if you're young, please, we need young voices. We're getting
Mm-hmm.
elder. My knees hurt, my back hurts, I'm sleepy.
Yes.
Like The door is open. Please come in. But I've been seeing, and maybe you've been seeing this too, is that the younger generation is a little like not anti-sex, but like less sexy, or they talk less about
Yeah.
sex.
Yeah, what the hell? Young people, what are you doing? What are you doing, y'all?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have seen that, like, less about it, for sure.
I'm not
Mm-mm.
young. I don't have a lot of youth in my life, but I do wonder if it's because of the information more about consent and
Mm.
understanding. But then there is also, at the same point, a higher number of sexual assaults that are happening around us now. I believe, let's get into it. Let me put a little rock down. I believe the numbers are
Yes.
higher because we have a government that is supporting essentially that those that cause harm don't and shouldn't be held accountable, which I think has given the green lit to more bullshit in this world, at least in this
Mm-hmm.
country, which we know that the rates of sexual assault are awful regardless. 1 in 3 women, one in 6 men. Now that doesn't account for younger individuals, and that doesn't account of the fact that most people don't report. It doesn't fully break it down to trans folks, black and brown, sex workers, folks with disability. These are all folks that have
Mm-hmm.
high rates that we are constantly overlooking and or are being harmed even more because of this government that's happening, honey. The office is full of troublesome people, if I can say that's as nice as I can say.
Yeah. No, I agree with you fully in that, you know, something I firmly stick to it and talk about all the time is that none of the things that happen in silos, right? Like all of the things that happen
Hmm.
are interconnected, right? And so when we see unchecked power, when we see unchecked
Mm-hmm.
abuse and that lack of accountability, like you said, it green lights it for everybody else. Well, if the president can do that, then I can do that. If the leader of this
Yeah.
organization can do that, then I can do that, right? And if they're not being held accountable, or they're even celebrated and promoted, then it makes it a a green light for abusers, and b it makes it even harder for victims. I mean, we already know it's so hard for people who have been raped, sexually assaulted to come forward. That is already tough
Mm-hmm.
on its own,
It
for
is.
sure.
It is. I happen to do this work every day of my life, and the conversations that I have, the fear that people have, the ways that it shows up in our bodies, and the trauma responses that people are navigating, because you can't get away from it. It is all around us. We are constantly seeing Epstein. We are constantly seeing the president. We are constantly seeing this celebrity. It is constantly being put in front of our faces. And we're also seeing that these people are not held accountable. We did get a slight win with Sean Puff Diddy Combs, but honestly, he wasn't held accountable for all the true harm he has held, as well as
Mm.
we know there's still court cases and things happening. But it really is also eye opening in the ways that those around us respond to these things. So this is what I also
Mm.
implore people to remember is you all know a sexual assault survivor. You do. The numbers are numbering. You know a sexual assault survivor. Now, if they've told you, not told you, maybe that's upon you and the ways that you navigate. But the ways that you show up in the world, the jokes that you make, they are witnessed. People see them. You are no longer a safe space because you wanted to make this person laugh. You have just lost the people around you that maybe depended on you, believed in you. That is horrifying. It's
Mhm.
horrifying because it happens so much. Like the amount of Diddy jokes, and I'm like, you do you not realize that there are people around you all the time? Do you not realize if we are sitting in a room of 20 people, there are multiple survivors in that space. Regardless
Mhm.
if they count it as harm, because some of us don't actually know how to name it because we've talked ourselves out of it. If they
Mhm.
do name it, if they are ashamed to name it, if they are scared, all of those people can be in one room or in one body. That's
Mm.
wild. It's wild.
Yeah. It it truly is. And then, you know, I can only speak from my own experience for reporting any sort of, assault. Um, is that when you report it, the amount of paperwork that you have to do, the retelling of your story over and over again to people, the the social stigma and shame is, and the pressure that other people are like, no, you don't want to get him in trouble, you don't want to get this person in trouble, drop it, don't talk about it more, and things like that, is it's heartbreaking, and it breaks you down because you're like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to keep dealing with this, I don't want to keep reliving this over and over, I just want it to be done, I just want it to be over. um,
Hmm.
Something you said in your intro too, and you came back to a little bit, is, and I think it's important to highlight that so many people don't even know how to name it or downplay that experience,
Yes.
well, I didn't explicitly say no, or I wasn't crying, I didn't get hurt, I didn't, and things like that. I think it's important to name and recognize, for sure, because, like you said, every one of us knows somebody who has experienced sexual
Mm-hmm.
assault. And as someone who
Mm-hmm.
has experienced that, I didn't know in the moment how to name it. I knew it didn't
Same.
feel right, and I did not know how to name it.
Mm-hmm.
And it took years later, and I was like, oh shit, like, no, that was not right. That was not okay. And that was sexual assault.
Yeah. I think oftentimes as well, because the percentages are very high that oftentimes we are not assaulted by the person in the alley. It is someone that we know.
Mm-hmm.
It is someone that we have had relationships with, someone that has been close with us. It might be family, friends, someone you dated, someone you've been around, a boss, a coworker, a friend, right? Like, we are vulnerable in those ways. I know I always like to tell people, I guess not always like to tell people, but I do like to name the fact that when I was raped, I was not out at a party. I was not out doing anything. I was at my home sleeping. And so I really think saying that also changes the stigma that people assume that you're just out drinking or you're doing this. I was at home sleeping in my bed. I thought, being safe, and I woke up and someone was standing over me. I had also been with this person before. And so in the act, I never said yes. I never said no, because I also knew this person, because I knew him, had an obsession with weapons and all of these things. And so I think it's so important that we can note that just because we didn't say anything doesn't mean we said yes, because
Mm-hmm.
trauma responses are very real. I learned later when I had language that I fawned because of my own safety. And for those of us that do fawn, you have not failed yourself. You did what you could to keep yourself safe. And I think a lot of people get full of shame from this. Like, this is such a shameful act. And honestly, it pisses me off. Now I'm revved up. It pisses me off that survivors have to navigate such shame when they didn't make the fucking choice. When someone decided to put their hands, their genitals, their decisions into their lives, they didn't ask for that. So why do we have to carry that shame around? Why aren't you being shamed? What's that show where they be doing a little shame? I don't watch it because it sounds horrible. Where women are about to die. What is the one? Oh, Handmaid's Tale. I don't fuck with that.
Oh,
Handmaid's Tale.
I
I
don't
heard about
either.
it with the
Nah.
little shame bell. My friends love a
Yeah.
shame bell. Mm-mm. Bring that out. We need to start.
Yes.
We need to start shaming and bullying those that actually do the harm instead of those that come forward. Because let me give you a little boop. 1 to 2% of people lie. 1 to 2. I don't know about you. That's a failing grade on any scale. It is not
Mm-hmm.
high. It is very rare, because everything that comes after you come forward with being harmed is awful. It's not fun. Nothing about it is fun. The process is never easy. Nothing about it is easy.
Mm-mm. No. And
My teeth.
the rate, no, I felt it. You were like ramping up to, like, and another thing.
I get mad.
And no, rightfully so. I think a lot of people have this idea um, that victims of sexual assault, lie at a higher rate. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because it is like like the same or less than victims of any other type of crime who lie about the crime that happened. And it's so small. It's so, so tiny. Um, and so,
Yeah.
when we say things like, we believe all survivors, we believe all people who come forward, um, regardless of how we feel about the person being accused of the crime, that's because 99% of the time they are telling the truth. And so we have to show
Yeah.
up and support those folks. Um, and I think it gets, for a lot of people, especially like I'm thinking around, especially like around the whole Diddy case, right? It's like a lot of people are like, no, not Diddy, no, and stuff. And those of us who like
You don't know
do
that
any
man.
kind of, you don't know that man, right? I kept saying, I'm like, you don't know him. You know a persona of him.
And all of
Don't
his
know
personas
him.
were trash. Every
Also,
version of that man was trash. What are we talking about? That's another. Oh, now you done read me up again. Let me sit up straight.
yes.
Another thing. We need to remember that celebrities are celebrities because we've decided that we've put them on this pedestal. These are
Mm,
regular people. They have different skills. They have, different types of tools that maybe they've learned, that maybe they can speak well, maybe they can act, pretend to be someone else. That's great. These are whole people, regular ass people. You know what people do? They cause harm. They lie. They abuse. They drug. And what is this man? A regular person. So let's
mhm,
take him off because he helped someone become famous, and he also abused these people, and he also did not pay them. And the fact that I finally saw the video of Cassie being harmed because I avoided it so long, but I watched the documentary. The fact that there is footage of him physically assaulting this woman, I personally sat and sobbed for 20 minutes.
mm,
Because what in the hell and I can sit and cry for many reasons about this world, but that's a normal response. When people go, well, I want to know what she said or did before. Fuck you. That's what she
right.
said and did. Because that woman was running for her life, and that man was chasing her in a towel and proceeded to put hands and feet on her in no laughing matter, abuse that woman. And that's the only thing we saw. So if that is what you can imagine that we've seen, I can't even imagine. And I don't want to imagine what that woman went through behind closed doors. Her
Mm,
and the countless other people that have come forward. The
mhm,
idea of suddenly all these people are coming forward for money is bullshit. I believe, sure, 1 to 2%, Holly, 1 to
mhm,
2%. Are all these people
for sure.
telling the truth? We don't know. But if you have 60 people over here saying you did this, 1 to 2%,
Mhm,
you harmed at least 12 of them.
mhm,
That's a failing grade. Send him to jail. Get in there with Robert Kelly. Get on it. Scoot over.
mhm.
Get in there. Get comfy. That's how.
Yes.
Get comfy. There's some more folks that should be with you. So get comfy. Scoot over.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this idea that there are characteristics or actions or whatever it may be that make people go, well, maybe if she had a, no, we're gonna say absolutely hell no to that shit. Um, there
I like
is
turn into a
nothing.
cat ready to fight when I hear that. I'm like,
Always we need someone to be like the perfect victim in order for us to believe them, and that is shit. She could have been butt
mm,
ass naked, like whatever. At the minute she said, I don't want to do this no more, that's it. That's the end.
mm,
And having these conversations when I used to talk to middle schoolers and high schoolers was
yeah,
wild. Was absolutely wild. I just remember when I was working in community health and going in, and I was talking to a class, and this one high schooler, he was just like, well, what if they don't explicitly say no, but they're not enthusiastic? And I was like, why why would you want to have sex with someone who's not enthusiastically about it? You know what I mean? Like, what in your, I don't get it. I don't understand it. And you don't have to answer me, please. And I actually don't. But even the other classmates were looking and were like, the hell? I'm like, well, Sometimes people say things
Mhm.
out loud, like you said, they just out themselves. You let them talk long
Listen,
enough,
you
and
listen.
let them talk long enough, and I
Yeah.
was like, ooh, I had to do the my master class in check your face. I had to really check my face because
Oh,
I
I
was
don't.
like,
Oh, what a struggle.
what? It's the biggest struggle in the whole
Yeah.
world, and I was like,
What a struggle that
oh,
is.
especially with
Yeah.
kids because
Yeah.
they want to say some real wild stuff to try and get you going.
That's when we're supposed to have these conversations, right?
Yes.
Because when they are younger, they're sponges and people
Mm-hmm.
don't move. Here we go. Let's get into our sex ed. The reason
Yes.
we need to have sex ed is because we are people that have sex. We are
Mm-hmm.
people with bodies. Sex ed is not just about fornication. I'm a comprehensive sexuality educator. That means I very much work from the brain outwards,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like the feelings, the emotions. People go, I didn't know that was a part of it. How did you think we got here? So we have failed a lot of the children in the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I just did a podcast and she was like, well, what was your sex ed like? And I was like, that's crazy. I was driving here thinking about it. And I actually had sex ed in elementary school, middle
Oh wow.
school, and in college. College, of course, was a choice, but it was very just like boring, right? It was like do the thing, get pregnant, blah, blah, blah. I want to say that it allowed for more conversation for myself, but I
Mm-hmm.
think that's where it fails us. I remember us getting separated by gender because there's only two. They think that's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Anyway, they separated us. But if we're going to, and I did, that's when I first had questions like, but I thought this was about both of us. So why are we being separated? Because shouldn't we be learning about each other?
Mm-hmm.
First fail. This is where sex ed first fails us out the gate. Why are you separating us? Two, sexual education should be age appropriate. So there should never be a time where there is space for harm when it is done correctly because age appropriate comprehensive sexuality education is very real.
Mm-hmm.
It's very real. It's very accessible. I used to teach through the OWL program.
Mm-hmm.
Very,
Yeah.
we did middle schools, high
So
schools,
good.
you know about it, middle schools, high
Uh-huh.
schools, private schools, homeschool kids, listen, everywhere. And kids have questions. They want to know. Us stunting them and taking this out of school is why, if we're going to be honest, why kids are doing BDSM in middle school and high school. I wasn't. They're out here choking each other out, doing all kind of things, drugs, having sex parties in middle school. What?
Mm-hmm.
But yet we don't want to teach them about condoms and lubes and how to say no and protect themselves. We are a part of the problem. Not us, but
No.
we as a collective are failing the future
Mm-hmm.
in so many ways.
So many. And I think a lot of people get so scared in their minds when you talk about sex education being age appropriate, like starting in elementary school. And people just think
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my gosh, you're teaching about condoms to like a bunch of like little kindergartners. And it's like, no, we have like literally there is a national like standard and it breaks it down by topic, the health education standards, it like breaks it down by topic, alcohol and
Yeah.
tobacco use, all violence, all this stuff, and sexual health, and it's broken up by grade clumps as to like what topics you talk about.
Yep.
It's scaffolding, it builds. Like I talk about all the time, I have a 4.5-year-old daughter. We talk about sex education and we're very much in um consent, asking people um,
Yes.
if that's okay, and personal boundaries, and saying like I don't want to hug, and or when we're play fighting or tickling, it's like stop means stop, and then we stop
Mm-hmm.
immediately, and even things like naming body parts, right? Like when we're doing bath time, I'm like, okay, time to wash your vulva, time to wash your butt and stuff. And we say vulva and butt the same way I say time to wash your arms, time to wash your legs. So we're not
Because it's a body
putting
part.
extra, yeah, it's just a body part. And she thinks the word vulva is very funny, which it is. I'm a child at heart. So we have like a body book and it goes through all the parts of your body from your head to your toes and it includes reproductive systems as well. And she has told me before, like, I have a penis. I'm like, you don't, sweetie. Some people do, but you do not.
She's like,
You
what?
have a vulva.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I have a penis. And I'm like, oh, we're on the way to an event with other children. Okay. I'm like, how do I tell you, like, please stop talking about that? But also, like,
Yeah.
it's not shameful to talk about it. It's cool. Like, we want to talk about it, but not right at
Yeah.
this moment, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's
Yeah.
that delicate balance, but it starts, it starts at a young age, right? Telling kids what you're going to do when you're wiping them. Yeah, they might not understand. They don't understand, but you're setting up the conversation to keep happening. We miss so many kids when we wait till middle school. We miss, especially now
Oh,
with
you're
social
late.
media, with social media,
Yeah.
with, I mean, there are elementary school kids that are at their like community centers, their after school programs and things like that are absolutely watching porn. I'm going to tell y'all right. I'm going to tell every adult right now, like that is absolutely happening, unfortunately.
Sure.
And when we're not having these conversations around like, digital literacy and around porn with our kids, it's very easy to think like that stuff is all real.
And that's why they're
Yeah.
doing BDSM parties and having.
Yeah.
Why do you know about? Here's the thing. Why do you know about kink at 11? Now,
Right.
I knew about it because I knew about it because I was already reading and I was watching Real Sex. Now, listen, guys, don't do what I do. Do something different. Don't do
Right.
that. But I totally agree with you. The accessibility now is why we
Mm-hmm.
should increase the conversations. Because when we
Absolutely.
shame these children and we make it seem like they shouldn't talk about it, when they go through things, they're not going to come to you because you have shamed
Mm-hmm.
them, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think that we can have these conversations and remember that you are going to be their first teachers. As parents,
Mm-hmm.
our first teachers, that's who you are. Now, you have them up until they go to school,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when the change happens. That's
Mm-hmm.
those first few years, really until like third grade. Third grade, something happens.
Mm-hmm.
Really up until third grade, you are their person. So be mindful of how you show up, right? Think about how your parents were. No one's
Mm-hmm.
perfect. Take what
Nope.
you have gone through, learn from it, do it differently. But don't fail them. Let them ask questions in the, well, you don't need to know. Let them know in a way that feels good. Let them ask questions. I was a
Mm-hmm.
question asker, and look at me now, still asking questions, pissing people off. But also having answers, right?
Yeah.
Like education is so important and it's ever evolving. I'm constantly learning. I'm like, there's
Mm-hmm.
a new gender. There's a new identity. The kids were going by blue. I said, wait a minute, hold on. I have questions, right? Like,
So question.
there's
So
always
many.
something happening. So many questions. There's always things happening. So we have to be open to evolving and meeting folks where they are. And we are in a digital era. You try to
Mm-hmm.
push it away, get it away. It's not going anywhere. So you need to learn
Mm-hmm.
how to meet these folks, meet your children, meet the children around you where they are, and remember what shame feels like because it's still at your door.
I think, and I'm of the belief that if kids are asking you questions, it's because they're ready to learn about it. Um, you just kind of have to figure
Mm-hmm.
out, and I don't want I don't want parents to feel like, how am I supposed to figure this out? When I say this, but you have to figure out the right way because you know your kid best, right? Like us as educators,
Yep.
we are teaching in a generalized way, for the most part, right? We're not teaching to each specific child, unless we're doing like one-on-one kind of work. But we're doing this in a generalized way. But your kid, and what information is like age
Yeah.
appropriate for them. Like I have 4.5 toddlers. The why are they doing that? Why is that happening? Why are they saying that? Why are they doing that? And I'm like, can you let me watch the show so I can help you answer the questions? But I love, she's like asking me 8 million questions about the show. Girl, I don't know. We are watching this
I
together
know.
for the first time. I don't
I
know.
know.
Hold on. But I love the questions. I really do because it's great. It's great that she's asking them and feels like I will answer them honestly, and I won't make her feel bad for asking or shut it down.
Yeah. And you created this space where she gets to feel like she can ask the whys. There are so
Mm-hmm.
many children that don't feel like they get to ask why, because why might end up in violence. So
Mm-hmm.
remember that and know that when they go to school, they are being open to a whole bunch of different homes and households. Yes, these are
Mm-hmm.
children, but again, you are your child's teacher. We don't know who their teachers are. So if
Mm-hmm.
you are going to send your child to school, equip them with tools. Teach them how to say their body parts. Teach them how to say
Mm-hmm.
yes and no in a way that feels good for them. Teach them who is a safe person to check in with. Teaching them those things is so helpful. Like, again, little things. Little things, not, oh, someone touched my cupcake. Well, shit, I sent you a dessert. Is that a snack? Is that a body part? No, right? Like using
Yeah.
appropriate terms with people like, we don't say that. We're going to call it a pee. No, you are
Mm-mm.
actually stunting your children in a way that is harmful. I know you're trying to keep it cute and you don't want them to know too much. They're going to know too much. They
Mm-hmm.
already know it. Also, when you
Mm-hmm.
said if they're asking questions and they're in school, somebody didn't already explain it and they're trying to get clarity from you because you are someone they trust.
Yep. Yep.
Don't lose them.
100%. 100%. Absolutely. Um, I'm gonna shift gears a little bit. And I want
Yeah.
to ask you about the tending garden. I want to hear
Mm.
all about it.
Tending the garden. Yes. Yes. Tending the garden was created in 2019. The first time I went to a 10-day silent retreat. I've done 3 of them. My therapist, every time she goes, oh, here we go again. Um, the hardest and best thing I've ever done for myself. The first time I did it, I came up with the idea of wanting to do a retreat for women of color sexual assault survivors because a lot of the things that I saw didn't look like me, didn't look like us. It was very white, it was very thin. It just wasn't giving. I was like, I don't look like none of this. And so I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to create a space where we could go and heal 5 days with care, with education, taught by people that look like them. So had a whole thing, put it all together. And then a good girlfriend COVID came in 2020 when we were set to go. um, we were not able to go, and we had to pivot because we were in the pandemic. I happened to get a grant that year from American Express, and I was able to give the survivors their money back because they also refused to give the survivors their money. We were able
Mm-hmm.
to host online events. I was able to hire 20 plus survivors to teach a summit. Everything that Tending the Garden does is ran by survivors for survivors. We have tried many things, so we haven't been able to do the in person yet. We've been able to do digital things, which 2026 I will be doing more of. Um, there's going to be some really cool projects that I get to do this year, some visual projects. The first one is coming in February, so I'm super excited about that. Tending the Garden will have the retreats, but what I realized also was that women of color were not the only marginalized folks that are sexual assault survivors. So it came to me that we needed to have pillars. Now, overall, we are supportive of all survivors, sex positive, definitely. Where other people add these other marginalized folks, we do center them. Cis men. Cis men are often not believed. They are laughed about. I
Mm-hmm.
just filmed a video talking about a comedy set that I saw and the ways that we overlook and don't support them. Sex workers. Their job is sex work when they say yes, but they are often harmed over and over again. Trans and non-binary folks, disabled folks, the youth, 18 to 25, those first few years of college are oh so dangerous. Oh, so
Mm-hmm.
dangerous. The elderly, right? All of these people that we see every day have a higher chance. And that does not take away from all these other individuals. I remember when we first started, I had a lot of women that happened to be white be like, you don't have anything for us. How dare you? One, shut the hell up. Okay.
Right.
Google, there's so many things for you. Two,
Right.
I know plenty of white women that are sex workers. in college, trans, non-binary, white folks, white men. Listen, we even have space for white men. Audacity. There is space
The
for you
audacity.
if you identify in those capacities. There's space for everyone. The reasons we did it is so people could find community and people that look like them that understood. So when we do have things for tending the garden, if you are in a class that is for survivors that identify as cis men, the teachers will be cis men. If it is for trans folks, the teachers will be trans folks. I want people that have those identities to feel seen. So we are going to be doing so much this year in person. I am so excited. Finally, because I do think also we are at a time where we need to come together. I'm going to do digital things. I also want this to be as affordable as possible. We received a really amazing donation towards the end of last year. Please continue donating. We are losing resources for survivors. The reason I want to do this is, again, everything we do goes back to survivors. I hire survivors, we support survivors. I want to make sure that the community is fed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my baby. It is crazy that I get to do this. I have already done almost all the things I thought I wanted to do. I have a nonprofit helping survivors. I have been on TV. I have had articles. I have had a center in a national magazine. I got to work with professional wrestling. I've loved wrestling, and I got to work 2 years in a company that I said I want to work there and got to do it. Like, I get to do these things, and it is such a privilege. And I'm excited to continue doing it. And I am thankful that people keep showing up. And I am sorry that everything doesn't work out and we don't always have the answers and the ways to tell people. But I want to keep trying. I want to keep making spaces for these people because unfortunately, they keep growing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I love that so much. I'm like, you've done all of this cool stuff, and also you're like, okay, what else? What kind of like what else can I do? Where else can I help? Where else can I support? Um, I think that's just like I'm just sitting here going, oh,
Crazy.
you're so
That's what it
cool.
is.
You're like, yeah, no, for sure. It is that helper and fixer nature that so many of us in
Yeah.
this work have because we don't do this for the money or the glory or the
We sure
fame, like
don't.
you know.
It's not the money, y'all. We're not rich.
No, no. And many of us like fund these like this is not my full-time job. Like this is just my passion. This is just my baby. Like I have a whole full-time job. And I was just talking to somebody else a couple weeks ago and I was like, being a podcast host and running your own business is a money suck.
Yeah.
I'm not making money, but I didn't go into this to make money. If I do make money, please let me just be honest. I will be so thankful, so grateful, so happy. But I do this because I
Sure.
love it and it brings me joy. And if I can help educate at least one person, or this podcast has allowed me to connect with the coolest of cool people, yourself included, obviously. For me, it's getting to know like who's doing this work in what capacities. Um, so that I'm building community, not only for myself, but for the people who follow me and who know me. It's like, I just had someone reach out on my website and ask me a question. I'm like, I don't have the answer, but I know like three people who do. And I like quick reached out to them and I was like, hey, can you help out with this? Can I give them like your link or your information and stuff like that? So, having that is so important. Like you said, like having that sense of community now more than ever is so
Mm.
key. And I love what you're doing with tending the garden. I think that is so important, and also opening it up and recognizing the need for all sorts of folks who normally get left out of the conversation, and
Yeah.
giving voice to them and giving a space for them um, to get what they need out of this, and also giving employment and to folks who are also victims as well is so crucial, and that's amazing. That's just amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah. I feel like
You're like, yes, it
I
is.
just do. I it takes for the people in my life to force me to slow down to see the things because I'm just doing them, right? Like we're so in
Mhm.
motion. And I think that's also a lesson is like you're also allowed to slow down and see the cool shit you've done. Like I am so thankful to have friends in my life that force me to celebrate. They're like,
Mhm.
bitch, we got you flowers. Sit down, we got you a cupcake. And I'm like, okay, thank you so much. Like I am so thankful for that because the work doesn't stop. And oftentimes we are head down pushing through because something else is coming through the pipeline.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I could talk to you for hours. You're just a delight and you're so knowledgeable. You're like dropping all these things. I'm like, yeah, no, you're right. Yes, yes. You're just like you're so you're like, yes, and let me talk to you about this, like very mental health professional, like, and then also, you know what? You done pissed me off. I love this. I can't wait to listen to this back when I go to edit it because it's like gonna be like this like roller coaster, and it's gonna be amazing.
You get different versions of me different times of the day. Um, I've already smoked a joint today. So you get Les Fox Jimanekia, who's revved up
I
in
love it.
anger, who was like filming things in between this. So I think it's so true. And I think that also speaks to why people, my friends love my voice notes because it's chaotic. And you get a little chaos, you get the authentic parts of me.
I love it. I love it. Yes, I love when people. I have a friend. Whenever she like sends me a voice note, I'm like, "Oh, this shit about to be good. This is about to be chaotic." I love it. It's supposed to be. It's gonna be
That's
so
me.
good. She couldn't even
That's
type it out, and she had to voice note it. No, I love that. You've already dropped a whole bunch of truth bombs, but the last question I always ask all of my guests is a piece of advice that you would like to give out to all the listeners.
remember that you matter and that your story matters, that your voice matters, because oftentimes we think we are just one small chasm and that we don't matter. To someone, you might be everything. You might be the voice that saves them, and you don't even know. I've gotten emails from people, and I am like, how did you find me in Ireland? That is crazy. Or how did you find me in Japan? And just know that sometimes people are just waiting for you. And also, fact check. Don't just say shit all the
Mm.
time. Be use Google. She's free for now. Let's really get into her. Books abundant, honey. Get back into books. Let's fact check before we just and start doing this. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and those both are going to help you.
I love that. That's amazing. Oh, thank you so much. And all the ways to support the work that you do for folks to follow you will be in the show notes. But thank you so much for taking the time and for being on and for sharing so much wisdom and just doing all the great work that you do. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.